welcome back to my channel. I'm Jessica and this is Big Ridge Homestead. I haven't done a garden tour for about 10 days, and so I figured it's time to give an update on the garden. Of course, as with any garden, the weeds are a constant struggle, and the weeds have pretty much taken over. But the tomatoes are starting to ripen. I've gotten maybe 2 off, and hopefully there will be a big harvest coming up soon, barring any other disasters and pests and blossom end rot and that sort of thing. But I have made a batch of pickles. I did harvest the carrots that were in here, so things are going pretty good. Not too bad. I thought before I start the garden tour I would show you the property across the street. I know I've did a few videos here and there kind of showing you the layout of my property and what's around me. The other day, I guess it's been about not quite a week ago, but I was mowing and there was a trailer that's in front of this one that you're looking at, and I kept seeing smoke, and there's no electricity over here, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Apparently there was somebody hired, supposed to tear down that trailer, because that's an old trailer and the trailer that was in front of it was newer. And so they were supposed to tear this one down because this land was rented by the person who purchased that trailer. And so they were going to move the other one out and just tear that one down. Well, the guy had started a fire and just left the fire. Well, as you can see, the fire didn't stay where he put it. Of course, I think the fire was only a few feet from where that trailer sits there. And mosquitoes again. And so, yeah, it caught that structure on fire and ended up burning like the back side of that other trailer. They did pull it out yesterday, and so it's just odd for me to see this burned up trailer sitting across from me. It's just so strange looking at it coming out here. But I thought I'd share that with you. That was kind of the drama in the hollow this week. It was actually like last Friday, Thursday, Friday. I don't remember what day, but I feel bad for the homeowners. This rhubarb was looking so good, and then we didn't have rain for a while, and the temperatures outside were reaching upper 90s. Heat indexes were up to 110, and so it really took a toll on the rhubarb. It had these big beautiful leaves, and now it's just struggling to survive, I believe. Hopefully the rain that we had last night, which didn't amount to much, but hopefully that was enough to kind of give this the jump start back to life that it needed. This is the loofah gourd that I planted in May. There's actually 3 plants here, and it is finally starting to take off and starting to thrive. It apparently loves the heat, so it was waiting for it to get nice and hot before taking off. It's got some blooms on it, and all these little spots here, like this, those will be flowers as well. And then hopefully it will be covered in loofah gourds. And I've got some new additions to my wind chimes. I swear I'm a wind chime freak. I picked this one up. They were buy one get one 50% off, and so it's a little butterfly. And then I also picked up the ladybug. I love ladybugs, and in case you can't figure out, I love frogs. So a little sad to see this. For some reason the zinnia is just tumbled over and laying on the ground. Last night when I came out here, it looked like that, big, beautiful, bushy, and now it looks like that. So I gotta prop that up, take care of that. Okay, I have got this prop back up. The mosquitoes had been better. That's why I'm out here shooting, and it's in the middle of the day. It's 2 in the afternoon. We have overcast skies. It's right now, it's got a light sprinkle, so I figure I can totally do this out here with just a little bit of rain. But if it gets to be too heavy, I'm gonna have to cut this video off. But the zinnias are still kind of laying on the ground, but for the most part, I've got this prop back up. I just wove it, the back side of it, through that cattle panel. And then I noticed this had happened. That branch broke there, and one of my big Whopper tomatoes is laying on the ground, so I'm gonna have to harvest that. Maybe fix some fried green tomatoes, since we've not really gotten that many to do anything with yet, but slowly was hoping things would come together. I did come out here the other day, and there's like some kind of worm that's been nibbling on my tomatoes. I did mix up some of the Blue Dawn dish soap and some water and sprayed it. I keep these water bottles out here like this. I used to use like chemicals like that, but I don't use them anymore. I will mix up, and yes, Dawn is a chemical, but it's not as bad as, you know, what's in that stuff. At least I hope not, anyway. In my mind, I'm hoping it's not. So I'll just keep my blinders on and pretend it's not. I mean, it's the least of all the evils that I can figure, anyway. But going back to what I was saying. So I mixed that up and sprayed it because they're causing like this damage to the plants. There was like a worm, and then also snails and stink bugs have been out here. It's just the weirdest thing. But it looks like I'm going to have to harvest a few tomatoes today. There's a couple down there that are ready to be picked. And those there are Roma tomatoes. And if you're not familiar with a Roma tomato, it is a meaty tomato. It doesn't get real big. It's good for like sauces and even making tomato paste. Unlike, you know, like your beef steaks, which are good for slicing, they have that juice in there. They're good for just eating right off the vine. Some people prefer a meaty tomato. I like to have mine with a little bit of the gel in it, and so it's nice and juicy when you bite into it. A good old sloppy tomato. And as you see, most of the beans have been pulled up. I've been letting a few of them go to turn to seed, so that's why they got these huge bean pods on them. Those are no good for eating, just basically letting them go to seed. Then I'll cover all this with black plastic as soon as I harvest these beans that are out here. I will cover this in black plastic and get ready for the fall crop. And I will likely relocate the strawberries. There's strawberries in there. I have just kind of let them go this year. I haven't paid them much mind. In past years, I've, you know, was diligent, pulled all the weeds around them and kept them nice. But after the ants devastated the berries this year, I just kind of let them go. And so yeah, that's what all that is, my strawberry patch. And I don't know where I'm going to put them yet, but they will be relocated, and hopefully that will be their permanent location. And this is the eggplant. A beautiful little bloom on there. I love these blossoms, they're so pretty. I'm partial to purple anyway. Purple and pink are probably my two favorite colors. And then we've got the squash. I've harvested one little tiny squash out of here. And then there's the okra once again. This is a Dr. Weitch's tomato. All the ones that are on this side are Dr. Weitch's. The ones that are on the other side are Cherokee Purple. And I'm waiting for them to turn. I have never grown a purple variety, so I'm just overly excited about them turning. And these here are those Amish paste tomatoes. And in the last video I did, let's see, I think these were the ones that I originally shown, and they were like this. They were long and like, sorry, they were long and pear-shaped, and then they turned to this. They get their nice round, like almost a heart shape, but not quite. Just a longer tomato. And I have gotten a small one off of here, and it is a very meaty tomato, hardly any juice to it, perfect for making, you know, tomato paste, and that's what it's for. And so it'll make a nice thick sauce to make chilies and soups and stews and that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to turning all of these tomatoes into something wonderful and edible. This here is a pink Brandywine, and that's what that big tomato was that was on the ground. And as you can see, this is a hefty tomato. It's a really large tomato, and not all of them are that size, but you know, when you first get your tomato harvest, they tend to be a lot bigger in the beginning, and then you'll start getting your smaller ones on after the plant's kind of used all its energy. And then on this side, we've got the spinach that has gone to seed. Well, it's not gone to seed yet. It's flowering. I'm waiting for it to go to seed, to get its seed pods so I can harvest it. And as you see, they get real tall. That's probably about 3 feet tall right there. And there's another one there, and look at the bees on there. We don't have a lot of honeybees. I have a beehive and no honeybees, but we do have a lot of the bumblebees. And the bumblebees just love this garden, and that and the butterflies. So those are my pollinators. The bumblebee. Look at all of these cucumber blossoms. And the bumblebees are working at pollinating them, and we'll get a lot of these little tiny cucumbers. These are made to be really small. I usually pick them when they're just a little bit bigger than this and make pickles out of them. These are your mini pickling cucumbers. It is a Wisconsin 15, if anybody's curious about this variety. Makes your little tiny pickles. You can pickle them whole like that. You don't have to slice them. But if you let them go, they will get, you know, about 3 inches or so. They'll get about yay big, you know, about like that. But they start to get more seeds in them, but not as, they won't get those big fat ones like you do when you get like a muncher cucumber. And so they're perfect for pickles, if you like mini pickles. And then there is the Blue Lake Kentucky pole bean. It's also called a Kentucky pole bean, Blue Lake pole bean. It's the same variety, but it's just got a couple different names. And I have harvested like a few beans off of here. It's got a few little flowers on it, but I'm gonna have to spray something on these leaves because the bugs are eating them, as you can tell. And I very well may end up having to pull them because I know what's causing it. It's these Japanese beetles, and I've been picking them by the handfuls off of here, and they've pretty much decimated my raspberries. And then in the last vlog, I think I showed you these are called dragon tongue beans. dragon tongue. It's got a couple of different varieties. Fire tongue, a fire bean, and it gets these creamy looking pods. And then when they're in the sun, they get these like pink or red streaks in them. These I am growing for a dried bean variety. I've never grown these before. I was mesmerized by the color of them. And of course these don't, this is truly what they look like on mine, given, you know, a amateur's gardening take. Now the professional beans, they're those nice long skinny beans, and they're beautiful color, a lot of variation, but this is how they're looking in my garden. And I'll let you know how they taste. They're supposed to be really good. You can eat them like this if you don't let them, you know, turn. If you pick them when they're young, like this, they're good for just eating right out of the pods before the beans get real big. But once these beans get big like this, you don't want to eat those. Since I knew the rain was coming, I went ahead and pulled my onions because they were starting to die back. Some of them didn't have any stems at all, or they had these little stems that have all dried up. And as you can see, that's all the bigger they get. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. If anybody has any input on growing onions, my onion harvests have been almost a waste of time for me. That's because that's all the bigger they get.